Brazil, where hearts were entertaining June. We stood beneath an amber moon and softly murmured, someday soon. We kissed and clung together.
I think I overslept my pre-season nap again. Oh well, come what may. Season 10 is here, and I'm gonna make the most of it. What was that, Judy? Can you guys speak a little more clearly? You're kind of garbled from the other side of the room. Oh, I see. You're congratulating me for 15 years of vaulting. That's a charm. 10 seasons and 15 years of vaulting? The fact I've been on the internet for that long and producing so much content for an audience. There's gotta be something I could... Of course! Say yes to VHS! Though exactly what I'm trying to find might take a little while of a dig to go through. You watch this intro while I do some searching. Let's see. No, but I am getting close. Ever since I was young, I collected VHS tapes like the average comic book or baseball card trading collector. As you can see, I've had quite the haul over the years. But among of all the tapes I collected, there was one special set that always intrigued me. And I saved them for a very special occasion. There it is. Aha! And that, my dear viewers, is the Moonbeam Entertainment films. And these movies were a major staple of my childhood. Harmless, goofy, family-friendly fantasy, while still good-intentioned. I grew up watching some of these, and a long time ago I promised I would examine them. But nonetheless, for Season 10, we're going to be taking a look into the films of Moonbeam Entertainment. The good, the bad, and the...
Welcome to our little tea party. Seize them!
Magic in the mirror, foul play.
That. But it all had to start somewhere, and it began with tiny dinosaurs. At the height of Full Moon's success, and Paramount Pictures demanding more product, studio founder Charles Band wanted to branch out and create some sister labels for different audiences. One was the short-lived adult Touchlight Entertainment, while the other one, Moonbeam Entertainment, had better success with fantasy and sci-fi films that had high concepts, box cover appeal, and intended for a younger audience. Prehysteria started as an idea by Full Moon veteran storyboard artist Pete Von Schally, whose storyboarding work credit also includes the Child's Play movies, The Mist, and Darkman. He had an idea involving miniature dinosaurs since he was a kid and sold the concept to New Line Cinema. Despite having a script made, the project was scrapped, and Pete pitched the idea to Charles Band, who liked the concept for two reasons. One was that it was a perfect and cute idea to kickstart their new family-friendly studio, and second was that it provided perfect counter-programming for kids who were too young to see Jurassic Park at the time. Gee, I wonder why. Okay, maybe the most highly anticipated film of the 1983 summer was a little too intense for some. It's either that or take him to see Hocus Pocus.
To convey gorgeous creatures such as yourselves to your most forbidden desires.
We desire children.
Hey, that may take me a couple of tries, but I don't think that'd be a problem.
Well, we still got Coneheads. Also, New Line Cinema still had the rights to Pete's original idea, so their version of Prehysteria had to be rewritten, with the one aspect being left unchanged was the tiny dinosaurs. So it leads me to wonder what was originally intended. Paramount loved the idea of a series of direct-to-video features for family audiences, and the new sister label was announced in October 1982 with a slate of 16 films planned. One of them was going to be David Allen's magnum opus The Prime Evils, retitled Hybrids. Sadly, that never came to be. Hopefully once that movie is released, I plan to cover its history and review it, but one title at a time here. Even though Moonbeam was more family-friendly, it still worked within the same standards and limitations of a Full Moon film, with one major difference: the budget. To illustrate my point even further, pretend that this is the standard budget for a Full Moon feature, clocking at about roughly $800,000, compared to, say, a Moonbeam Entertainment movie, which had a lot more going into it. How much? $1.3 million! So, even though it contained the same low-budget techniques as a Full Moon feature would, it got a little more polish to it because it was for a family-friendly audience. Regardless, it spawned off some sequels, and we're gonna look at them. We got a lot to look into, little time, so let's begin with the first movie. The movie opens in South America, and not in LA Arboretum doubling for it, where a museum curator named Rico Sarno, played by character actor Stephen Lee, is annoyed by the haul of his expedition.
You know, a bust out, a dead end, no El Artefactos. I've shown you many caves. Birdseed, amigo. All I got here is 3 arrowheads and a bear's tooth.
Well, they did offer you to bring back some lost Doctor Who serials, but I guess you didn't find any value in those. He's told by his tour guide to avoid a forbidden cave, but as expected, Rico goes in anyway. Instead of booby traps, he finds the dead body of Ernest P. Worrell and Uncle Fester's love child, and also a set of ancient frozen eggs.
Bingo.
Rico is caught trying to steal them, and we get this piece of exposition.
Many million moons ago, the son of Culebra came down from the mountains and presented these small mutant eggs to the Tulupo's tribe before he died. They are symbols of eternal life.
Fun fact, all this mythology, it's gonna get retconned by movie number 3. But one flaw at a time here.
Hasta luego.
So that's what happened if my brain was on eggs. Or was it drugs? Meanwhile, we get introduced to our protagonists, the Taylor family, raisin farmers by day, and fossil-digging paleontologists in the afternoons. Their dad, Frank, is played by Brett Cullen, who you might recognize better as Thomas Wayne from Joker. The Valley Girl Monica is played by Samantha Mills, who didn't do much afterwards. And lastly is the Elvis enthusiast son Jerry, played by Austin O'Brien, who would also be in a small movie that came out afterwards called Last Action Hero. This is the basic dysfunctional family dynamic with the stern but mean-swell father, the teenage daughter who is half Valley Girl and half rebellious, and the son who...
Leave him alone, he's horny. She looks like Madonna in Heat. Nah! It's a gold monster! Squash it, Dad! Say howdy. She just got kissed on the tush by the king.
falls under the Bart Simpson trope where he tosses out naughty catchphrases, but is also grieving and means well. Yeah, there's a small subplot where they're hit on hard times due to finances, and enduring the dead mother cliché. Well, they don't exactly say how the mother died. There is a genuineness added to the movie as these characters are trying to grieve over the loss of their mother. There is a sweetness to it, especially in scenes like this.
Dad? Huh? You ever think about Mom?
Yeah, all the time.
Think she's in heaven?
Yep, probably having coffee and donuts with Elvis.
But when they act typically dysfunctional, it gets a little harsh.
Both those rumble, man.
Elvis is dead, Jerry.
Spoiler alert, the Baz Luhrmann-directed biopic is not due for another 29 years. There's one where the daughter Monica sneaks out of the house and gets caught, leading up to this moment a little while later.
You're on probation, young lady.
Then I'm jumping bail. I'm running away.
Open the door, Jerry.
What?
Open the door. Your sister wants out.
Daddy.
There you go. Jump. Jump.
Cut it out!
Should I give her the heave-ho?
Touch me, little creep.
All right, sit back and pipe down.
Okay, even in The Simpsons they would never do something like this.
No, wait a minute. If I can... This is not the way to get healthy!
Strike that, scratch it, reverse it. Anyway, they try to sell some fossils to Rico, who just happens to return from his tomb raiding, when the Taylor's dog Ruby somehow manages to mix up the coolers, taking Rico's by accident. So it's hinted that the family dog Ruby is going through some kind of post-trauma, as it's mentioned her puppies were taken away from her at a certain point, and she views the eggs as her lost children. And coming from someone who knows some grandparents that also have a dog that is going through some trauma issues because her children were taken away from her at a young age, I can buy this plot element. Thus, the dog takes the eggs with her, while Rico ends up with KFC dinner.
Sandwiches? This isn't my cooler. My babies. Where are my babies? My eggs! Where are my eggs?
Speaking of which, the best way to describe the acting is that it ranges from decent to over the top. When it's just the human characters interacting, it feels slow and standard. I kind of pinned this to the manner of directing, as not only did Charles Band direct, but also his father, Albert. The two of them had previous experience in the film industry, so it was nothing new to them. While both didn't see eye to eye, as Charlie had a company to run, they did keep close contact. However, as seamless as the family-friendly tone is, you can kind of tell where the directing differs, with Charles doing interior scenes and Albert taking over for exteriors. Also, want to know how you can tell Charles Band is directing a scene?
Chow time, Ruby.
Easy! Anything that involves the tiny dinosaurs. Once the prehistoric beings hatch, Prehisteria really comes to life as 5 dino tykes are born. And yeah, any scene with these things is worth seeing alone. The 5 dinosaurs were designed by Pete Von Schally and his wife Andrea, who modeled them distinctly by personality that is reflected well here. In addition, the effects relied on a combination of cable puppet work by Mark Rappaport and stop-motion animation in some shots by David Allen. There are times where it can be noticeable to spot an on-set effect in a keyed-in animation, but it's still cool to look at.
Good God, it had a nose like my math teacher.
Once the kids discover they're in possession of extinct creatures, they decide to give them names by famous musicians of the time period. Of course, being the 1990s.
Donna.
For a pterodactyl? That's a girl's name, man. Stegosaurus is Jack.
But the Brachiosaurus Paula. And the Casmo is Hammer.
King disagrees, man. Sicker Elvis.
Now, if this were being remade today, the naming of the dinosaurs would be way different. The T-Rex would be Ozzy Osbourne, Stevie Nicks for the Brachiosaurus, the Casmosaur would be Mikey Way, Patrick Stump would bear the name for the Stegosaurus, and the Geosternbergia would clearly bear the name Elton John. And for all of you dinosaur enthusiasts out there, aren't you glad I didn't say pterodactyl for the last one? Of course, any scene with these five are easily the best, especially when they rock out to generic-sounding Elvis tunes. Originally, Charles Band tried to get some Elvis tunes in the movie, especially the obscure ones, but they were deemed too expensive. So when in doubt, why not get some generic sound-alike Elvis songs? The best scene for me is when the dad finds out the kids are harboring the tiny dinos. Not just because Charles Band directs this moment, but it almost plays out like a horror movie.
What the?
Pardon me, would you have any Grey Poupon?
Monica! Jerry! Get down here on the double!
Well, it could be worse, Brett. They could have you in Carnosaur.
What in creation are you?
How is it that two movies that contain baby dinosaurs were released around the same time when Jurassic Park was stomping its way to theaters? While shenanigans go on at the dinosaur house, an employee of Rico named Vicky, played by Colleen Morris, decides to hide out at the Taylor's home once she notices how batshit insane her boss is becoming.
I knew it was Whitey. Good job, Vic.
Rico, no!
Get his legs. Sir. Call the law, Vicky.
No, Rico, you don't want to kill that Whitey. He's played by voice actor Tom Williams, not Adam Sandler. Vicky sees the family has the dinosaurs and advises them not to bring them to Rico, as he sees them as a business opportunity and less of a scientific discovery. I'm not kidding. That is the bad guy's motivation.
Oh gosh, Frank, you cannot give these back to Sarna.
But they're his eggs.
Sarna will put them in a circus or he'll ship them off to Hollywood. Those should be 5 giant dollar signs to him.
And I've seen Dumbo way too many times to know how the circus animals get poorly treated. Vicky's presence also creates tension for the family. While Jerry and his dad Frank don't mind a lady in the house, Monica's alarmed with the idea of a possible new mother.
What about Mom, huh?
Your mother's been dead for 2.5 years, sweetie.
Don't you ever think about her?
I dream about her every night. And in that dream, she's still alive. But by the end, she's gone. And I have to go through it all over again.
I have the same dream.
Again, when it's trying to be genuine, it actually works. It's not Oscar-worthy by any means, but the acting and the writing provide what it's trying to be. Family-friendly without that hard edge. Is it generic? Yeah, but you can tell there's a genuine sweetness to it in scenes like that. However, most of the flaws with this movie more or less surface in the final third of this film.
No, that's
awesome gizmo. Where's the batteries? Oh, cool, it talks.
And not just from Diet Pepsi Pauly Shore over here.
Hello, farm boy. Whoa! Caught you with your pants down, huh?
It's a bit too early to see your 2 raisins, and I don't mean the ones on your shorts. In the final third of Prehysteria, Rico goes bonkers to the point he tries to get the dinosaurs back by gunpoint. On one hand, Stephen Lee really plays up the sheer madness of his character and his will to get the living fossils back. While the tone of the movie is gentle, it feels weird to have one guy really ham it up. It does lead to some unintentional hilarious moments that are at least kind of entertaining.
I knew they were here! Where's my gun? Oh, now crawl back to your car. Are you out of your stinking mind? Watch me crawl.
Rico is so determined that he hires character actors Tony Longo and Suter Fratkin as goons to help rob the dinosaurs. I'll talk more about Tony and Stuart when I do Remote, but for now, I gotta admit, they have some funny moments too.
Good day, my friend. Could I perhaps interest you in some Girl Scout cookies?
It's just a joke.
Sorry, no free samples.
No Thin Mints? Then how about a nice Hawaiian headbutt?
You can't do that.
That doesn't matter because Rico manages to steal nearly all the dinos, with Monica being the exception, flying away. He takes Vicky hostage and threatens to kill her if the Taylors follow suit. I kinda love how he must think up a threat right in the heat of the moment.
I want you sharecroppers to count to 500. If you don't, if you follow us, I'll kill the new lady of the house.
Plan A would involve drowning her in a vat of chocolate fondue, but this gun right here is giving me a better idea. He plans to expose the tiny dinosaurs to the world with mass media coverage, but... guess. Just guess what happens.
I give you prehistoric life! Where are my sugar babies?
Oh, and Whitey saves the day by keeping the dinosaurs hidden until the Taylors show up for them. Well, I'll give it this much. It didn't end with a loud climax or an annoying chase sequence. So how about a Hawaiian punch?
You! Whoa!
Wasn't that a refreshing comeuppance? I know there is the plot hole about Rico knowing where the Taylors live, so there's still a chance for him to steal the dinos again. But when you have weapon assault while trespassing and holding one of your employees hostage to your name, according to LA law, Rico would probably go to jail for about 2 or 4 years. Unless he pays the $10,000 fine. Prehisteria was released a couple of weeks after the debut of Jurassic Park. Unlike Last Action Hero, which sadly bombed, Charles Band's Dino Family film ended up being one of the highest grossing direct-to-video releases at the time, with 70,000 units shipped in the US rental market alone. Compared to when Puppet Masters sold 50,000 home video units on its debut, that's damn impressive. Especially when the other dino flick out at the time was Roger Corman's Carnosaur. Much like with Full Moon's movies, the VHS release also had Video Zone segments as well, a video magazine that showed how the movie was made, teased upcoming releases, and shared extra details on the film. Most interesting was a segment where Pete and Andrea Von Schally showed how they worked their drawing and sculpting craft, yet never taught me how to draw a dinosaur despite advertising me otherwise. Paramount Pictures held on to the rights for the movie, yet never gave it a proper DVD release, despite Charles Band keeping a copy of the film negative. It wasn't until he got the rights back that it got a proper Blu-ray release and specially remastered. As beautifully restored as it looks, there is something that must be addressed. It's not the same version folks saw or rented back in 1983. There's a small scene missing of Rico spying on the Taylors that's not in the new home video version.
My children. All my children. Mine. Mine, mine, mine.
While it's not bad like the missing footage from the first Blu-ray release of Tourist Trap, it's something minor I'm willing to overlook. But nothing will prepare you for the shock of an alternate ending that was restored back in to any DVD, Blu-ray, and streaming version of this movie. The South American tourists follow them all the way to America! What a lame cliffhanger. I even like how Charles and Austin O'Brien make fun of this in the DVD and Blu-ray's audio commentary.
He was the tour guide.
That was so stupid. I apologize,
It's
everyone.
setting it up.
We should have ended with some cute dinosaur shots, maybe less of Whitey, more dinosaur shots, and they drive away.
Well, it's been,
I know we set it up, but this is a terrible ending. So
I
I'm
love
sorry.
that it just that is now also the backdrop for the credits and everything, and that you're very excited
Which
about.
is even stupider.
And how will all this factor into the movie's sequel? Find out how after this nostalgia break. Trust me, we're gonna need it.
Something big is coming to McDonald's. Something of such enormous proportions. It could only be called the Jurassic Park Extra Value Meal.
Okay, let's eat!
An enormously juicy triple cheeseburger with fries and a medium drink in one of 6 free Jurassic Park collector cups. The Jurassic Park Extra Value Meal. A dino-sized value for a dino-sized appetite.
Hey, where's mine?
What you want is what you get at McDonald's today.
All right.
Big, stylish, and now one of the best values in America. Just for a limited time, buy the Super NES Super Set and get 5 complete Mario games standard. Mario! You'll find the Super Set is like no other system. In performance, handling, and Mode 7 control, you'll get Super Mario World. And for $3.50 in postage, Super Mario All-Stars free with 4 Mario games in one. Mario! So stop by your Nintendo dealer today. When it comes to value, don't forget Super Nintendo Super Set.
With the first Prehysteria movie being a rental hit, a sequel was inevitable. But there were some problems. Remember that cliffhanger ending I mentioned about the South American tour guide? It never appeared in the original home video release of the movie, so I guess that was considered non-canon. Worst of all, the original cast and crew moved on to other things, so clearly this time around, the focus has to be on the tiny dinosaurs. There's got to be so much you can do with them based on the mythology that was so little given in the first flick. And they were a major selling point of the last movie, so they got to give them the spotlight. Spoiler alert, they don't. Unlike the first film, Prehisteria 2 is directed purely by Albert Band. Originally it was going to be another father and son co-directing effort, but Charles Band was unavailable. The screenplay was written by Brent Friedman, who worked on some of the other Moonbeam Entertainment titles, and eventually did screenplay work on classics like Mortal Kombat Annihilation and Food Fight. Here's your sign. The screenplay still needed a rewrite regardless, as the original idea for the sequel was deemed too expensive to shoot. So they got Michael Davis for rewrites, who wrote the screenplay for Double Dragon, and also worked on the Saturday morning series, The Amazing Live Sea Monkeys.
And now, back to our film, Really Bad Dreams on Fern Street.
Can't look! Gotta look! Too scary!
Gotta
look! Gotta look! Oh, don't! It's a scary part! Can't look! Gotta look!
Yep. Definitely a good sign, all right. With the original cast unavailable, with the exception of Frank Welker returning to do dinosaur noises, the Taylor family is written out as being on vacation, leaving their dino pets under the care of a friend of theirs named Mr. Cranston, played by character actor Owen Bush.
I bet my little girl's hungry, huh? Now, you've knocked off my glasses.
Because clearly an old man is the perfect babysitter for 5 mischievous dinosaurs. Thus, the dinos escape into a shed full of raisins where they accidentally get packed into a crate.
That's just silly!
The plot involves a rich kid named Brendan, played by Kevin Connors, and I'm going to say this right off the bat, I really can't stand this character. The kid actor is fine, but his character is a straight-up bastard. His deal is that his father is a complete workaholic, thus leaving him under the care of a nanny, played by Betty Ackerman, in her final role. She is a complete strict Scrooge that would rather see him fail and be sent to boarding school, instead of helping him cope.
Perhaps you can get away with that atrocious behavior at that boarding school. But not here, boy. You're going to learn some manners this summer.
Thus, Brendan just acts like a pure nuisance to the household workers who practically have enough of his antics. Greg Lewis plays the gardener who's supposed to be Russian, but his accent and look somehow gives me more Italian vibes.
Help us, he has returned.
This is impossible.
And I do feel bad for Japanese-American actor Michael Hagara as the cook Mr. Hero. His big gimmick is to take well-known songs and add food puns to them. Because if you can't afford the original, why not change some of the wording in the lyrics?
I chopped the chicken, but I did not kill the broccoli. Scrumptious water chestnut tasty for the food I cook. In the kitchen is Hero's kitchen, the lamb sautés tonight.
Thanks, Prehisteria 2. Now you're making me feel bad for the ethnic stereotypes.
Why you breaking your mama's heart? Manja, manja!
Hey, Pearl, turn it off. You make such broad caricatures.
Brendan tries to run away to the train station, and after an encounter with bullies, meets up with a boxcar girl named Naomi, played by Jennifer Hart.
You may be right there. You are the strangest looking drifter I've ever seen in my life, pal.
While she doesn't annoy me as much as Brendan, she doesn't do much outside of give our lead someone to connect with. And I would be fine with that if Richie Snobby here was at least likable.
What's that? Leave me alone! Get out of here!
Fun fact, breaking Madonna's wing is a cheap way to say these dinosaurs will be relegated to rod puppet form only for this sequel. Supposedly David Allen was busy on Prime Evils, and due to the expense of stop motion, the dinosaurs here were demoted to animatronic form only. The Prime Evils better be worth the wait, David! So Brendan manages to bribe one of the train workers to bring the crate of raisins to his mansion. Sure! And for a majority of the sequel, we are trapped in this mansion. I understand budget is a big factor, but there better be something unique about this place. The only room of color is Brandon's bedroom, which looks like the production company ransacked a Toys R Us store. Seriously, he has a giant Game Boy in the background and never uses it. In fact, forget the dinos, I'd rather play Super Mario Land 2 on that thing. Wait a minute, are those demonic toys comic books on the floor? Why would you have those? I mean, I know the child actor was 14 when he was doing this movie, but given the narrative structure they place him on, it explains why his character Brendan is so messed up. You should at least put him out for 3 more years and expose him to full moon feature stuff. At least avoid him from seeing shrunken heads. I'll give at least some credit. At least Brendan tries to call the home phone number on the dino's collars, but is sent to the answering machine. Perhaps one of 2 smart moves in this movie. Brendan's father is played by Dean Schofield, who is more notable for playing Johnny Sasuke in the Metal Gear Solid franchise. Given the little we see of this guy, it kind of annoys me they play the whole 24/7 working parent to the equivalents. It feels over the top. It's even hinted their household nanny named Miss Winters was the reason for the dad's no-nonsense attitude. That's got me running math over how that is possible given the age gap.
Do you think your father got where he is today by being so contrary?
No.
He got
Recheck the
where he is
balance
because
sheets.
I taught him to be disciplined and well-behaved, and I intend to do the same to you.
That just raises further questions.
I especially love it when Brendan brings out one of the dinos right when his father is in the middle of a business meeting, and the dad just shrugs it off like it's a toy.
Look!
That's nice, Brendan.
Look, it's totally real.
Of course it is, Brendan. They're made that way.
At this point, this is exactly what the dinosaurs feel to me about now. Bunch of rubbery toys voiced by Slimer.
The T-Rex even does the foxtrot.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime gal.
So Naomi goes to visit and sees just how upset Brendan is with the rich kid lifestyle.
I can't believe you live here. This place is so great. Yeah, I'm so lucky. And I bet you don't play with any of this stuff either. My dad gives it to me because he doesn't have time to hang with me.
You know what? Hook had it right. I mean, sure, Peter Banning was a bit of a jerk and he focused more on his work, but at least he made an effort to try and be a father to his children, this guy here doesn't leave much of an impact. And yeah, I know the tone of this movie is not meant to be taken seriously and lighthearted, but how can you when your last movie dealt with a loss in the family and executed it so well? But there's another problem afoot, as Miss Winters has an allergy to animals in general and carries a no strict pets policy.
What creature did you bring home from boarding school this time?
I haven't brought any pets home since you flushed my hamsters down the toilet.
Yeah, it doesn't explain what kind of animal she's allergic to, just animals in general. As tempted as I am to poke fun at that plot hole, I'm more bugged by how open door that allergy is. So, who do you call for exterminators? But dollar store Ghostbusters to get rid of the pests. Name Catch 'em and kill 'em. Subtle. Come to think of it, the last movie had Home Alone-style goons, but it didn't go the distance. Here, they go all the way with these two, enduring makeshift traps on the fly, and convince them that the mansion is haunted.
Hey, it's ghosts! I'm convinced! Let's go! I want to know for sure. You cover me. I'm going in!
Hey, how about a nice Hawaiian train? I said train, you fool, not punch. Boxcars don't make punching sound effects. The dinos take a back seat so the kids can come up with a plan to get Brendan's father to spend more time with his son. They discover a giant train set in the attic and find out it belonged to the father. With the dad's birthday coming up, they decide to restore the thing as a surprise. Yeah, how do we go from tiny dinos to toy trains? Oh well. Extra stuff is needed, so they go around the house to try and get items from each of the house workers. And it's awkward as you think it is. Naomi poses a talking tree to the gardener Ivan so Brendan can take some shears from him to get more branches cut.
Don't be afraid. My bark is worse than my bite.
You, really think I'm handsome?
Comfort me.
Oh, I can't. You're much too young.
I want to have a tree house with you.
From one of the writers of Food Fight, you say? I believe it! At least getting Hero's clock was easier. All Brennan had to do was sing a version of The Way We Were.
Hot apple pie gave me smiles when we dined. Smiles I gave to get another.
And it's sad to say it's the only charming thing in this entire film. Even if the scene is a bit of an awkward sit.
Turkey so good to dismember, but now we choose to forget.
Hell, why not just simply apologize to the gardener? I mean, sure, Hero gets an apology, but Ivan over here gets messed around with his little tree eroticism thingy. And given the nature how these two characters actually do help our heroes out in the end, it just makes no sense when one person actually gets a sorry and the other one gets 50 Shades of the Giving Tree. Ugh.
You just ask him for that. Ivan doesn't like me. I don't know why.
Wow! What a complete bastard!
The plan goes awry when they try to get a bell from Miss Winter's room, not like you can get one from anywhere else in the house, and while they sneak in and nearly get caught, something big happens.
Wait a minute, let me see this. I didn't know Miss Winters was an orphan.
That's right, a plot reveal that goes nowhere, and this!
Gotcha.
Oh, wanna know how much I can't stand the Brendan character? Right after Naomi gets caught, he does nothing to defend her or save her. He just stands there like a wimp and just lets the nanny kick her out of the house. You have a voice. Use it. If you can convince a cook-through song to have a change of heart, then clearly your character's progressing too fast enough to realize you got a brain.
Kill the little bastard, see what I care.
Oh, remember how the first movie was quiet and simple? Well, here, they go for a climax that's all out loud, cartoony, and makes no sense. Sure, the first movie ended on an anticlimactic note, but at least it worked in the service of that one. Here, they go for straight up cartoony, and it doesn't work. Not only does it come out of nowhere, but it feels badly staged. Miss Winters discovers the tiny dinosaurs and tries to play Whack-A-Lizard with her broom.
Here we come, the whack-a-moles popping out of our holes. Sorry, pal, you can't catch me. Oh, no, I'm history! Come on, Slowpoke.
And remember how I said Brendan was a wimp? Seriously, right here, he could tell Winters about the dinos and explain he found them while trying to get them to their owner. But nope. They engage in a pointless fight scene that's not only awkwardly staged, but makes no sense. First they fight physically. Brendan locks her in a closet as he tries to gather up the dinos. Then she breaks out of the door and just wins. Yeah, no contest. Just simply comes out of the closet and takes the crate, claiming victory. But oh, it doesn't stop. The remainder of the climax goes on with one oddly staged set piece after another, from smoke bomb distraction.
Incoming! Hit the deck! Where am I here? Mayday! Mayday!
Rebelling houseworkers.
You wait! Hasta la vista, exterminators!
To even old lady abuse.
Stop him! Stop it!
Have you ever seen such cruelty?
And the cherry on the whole thing? The two kids who get the dinosaurs back run away from the house, only to later be discovered back inside the house and located where the toy train set is.
It's so dumb.
It's so dumb, it's brilliant.
No! It's just dumb.
But oh, wait for it, because it gets dumber.
I'm not letting anyone spoil a perfect birthday. Miss Winters, you can forget about sending Brendan to military school.
But,
The moral of Prehysteria 2 is, if your parent is a workaholic and doesn't give you much attention, raise extra hell and they will do so for you. That should not be it. The goal is to cooperate and compensate, not quit your job just because your kid demands focus. The message is so ass-backwards that I'm surprised this movie is not being played in reverse. Reverse in played being not is movie hold this surprise I'm that backwards ass so is movie the. What just happened? Anyway, Mr. Magoo picks up the dinos and drives off while the Mansion family cosplays Shining Time Station. But not without the stinger.
All aboard.
Needs work.
All aboard!
Wow. What a way to go out. Folks, we're gonna need another nostalgia break before we dive into movie number 3. All I can say is, I hope it's better than the last one.
Don't miss the spills. A comedy that's far above par.
I just love happy endings.
Prehysteria 3.
Well, the nostalgia was good while it lasted. Now it's just losing flavor.
McDonald's takes you back to bedrock. Fellow lodge members, introducing one of extraordinary appeal, the Grand Poobah supersized meal at McDonald's. A juicy McRib sandwich with supersized fries and a large Coke. Plus one of McDonald's is a fossil!
You're such Neanderthal.
What you want is what you get at McDonald's today.
And now, brace yourself for a fashion explosion. The limited edition t-shirt featuring McDonald's, just $4.99 each. Get them while they're hot.
Skittles, taste the rainbow.
Well, folks, they finally did it. Prehysteria 3. They saved the worst one for last. And just when you think it couldn't get any more off the rails, you ain't seen nothing yet. This time directing duty went to David D. Coteau, and that's something of a good sign. He helmed Puppet Master 3, my favorite of the series, along with Creepazoids and the Sorority Babes and the Slime Ball Bolorama. At least he did this movie despite going under a fake name. Concerns rise further with Michael Davis coming back to write the screenplay, along with some help from Neil Ruttenberg, who wrote Deathstalker 2. Also on a side note, as of this review, Prehysteria 3 has not gotten a DVD or Blu-ray release, so I'll make do with the VHS footage that I have. This time we open with a recap of the previous two movies, with narration completely retconning the purpose of the tiny dinosaurs.
Creatures of fun and innocence, bringing joy and happiness to the world.
Oh, the joy they brought to the world, all right. Unless you count that family of three from the first movie and Montana Max from the last one. Surprisingly, it continues from the last movie when Mr. Cranston picked up the dinosaurs from Brendan's home. And how they explain the dinosaurs' escape from the old man's grasp this time is more ridiculous than the last. Raisins in the gas tank. Works every time. Best part about this? Right here is the last time we see this character until the end of the movie. Yeah, no joke. We never cut back to him or even see a glance. Mr. Cranston just pulls at the side of the road and that's it. And I would give anything to see the adventure he partook in while our dinosaurs create havoc. The plot this time around is almost a near carbon copy of the first movie with some major differences. I'm not kidding. Instead of an Elvis enthusiast that acts like the king of rock, we get a girl who's obsessed with golf and her Scottish heritage. Instead of a valley girl, we have a rebellious brother. This time around, we do have a mother who's alive and doing metal sculptures, but a father that is suffering from guilt over losing an important golf tournament because he got distracted from a bird chirp. In fact, this whole movie can be summed up best as take the first one and do it again, but replace Elvis with golf.
She's 3 strokes away from being the first lassie to win the British Open. And oh, what a bonny shot! She knocked the dimples off that one. Our family this time is the McGregors, who live in a rundown miniature golf course and stuck with an expensive loan. Their Uncle Hal, played by Bruce Weitz, has a major country club right next to them, with plans to get extra investors and bulldoze the McGregors' place for space. He tries to buy their home out, but has no success. And I don't blame them, given how annoying the McGregors are. Granted, the parents played by Fred Willard and Pam Matson are not bad, and their son Heath is just your generic lazybone, but their daughter Ella is just annoying. Her shtick is that she's half French and Scottish, but completely obsessed with her Scottish heritage. So much to the point, a majority of her dialogue is nothing but references, lingo, and anything that she believes is connected to being Scottish. You should be proud of your kin. The McGregors are the noblest clan in Scotland. You look like you belong in Loch Ness. I can't go any faster, Captain. I'm giving it all she's got. My dilithium crystals are all used up. I figure if I'm going to be the first lassie to win the British Open, I've got to harness the Scottish in me blood. The best club maker in Edinburgh.
Look, I myself am half French and half Scottish. Not only am I partially offended by this, but I know for a good fact that Edinburgh is not pronounced Edinburgh. But oh, just when you think they could not push the boundary even further,
Oh, who barfed?
First off, that is not haggis. That is clearly some kind of Chef Boyardee-style chili. Second, there is absolutely no way you would get authentic haggis in the United States because the USDA does not approve the idea of using sheep's lung as its a pivotal ingredient. Third, I might be partly Scottish, but haggis is a dish I do not want to eat highly of. But bacon spam. Get a can of that and we'll get talking. The tone of this movie is certainly radically different from the previous two. If you feared the first Prehysteria would be loud and obnoxious, then look here no further. The comedic tone is so brash and annoying that it really feels like pure desperation. While the last two had performances that did give a care, here, everyone is given zero effort, from the lame jokes to the lackluster line delivery.
Your whole family stinks. In fact, they shouldn't call it McGregor's putt-putt. Instead, they should call it McGregor's...
You know, maybe I was wrong. This movie is not trying to be a sequel to Prehysteria. It's trying to be the Caddyshack 2 of Prehysteria movies. What's more baffling is this entry has Fred Willard, a great comic talent, and he feels wasted here. I get what the writing is trying to do, but here's the main issue. He is glued to a script that doesn't give him much material for him to work with. Yeah, I know they give Willard some drama to his character, but also slapstick. And if you can't get Fred to make the slapstick work, then clearly you got more than just a writing issue, but also a directing problem too. I will give this much. Once the parents find out about the dinosaurs, they hatch an idea to avoid going bankrupt.
So please...
You want me to keep the putt-putt and these dinosaurs? What do you think this is? Dino putt? Hey! Wait a minute, that's it!
My head just turned into a cash register, just like one of your mother's sculptures. No, they decided to revamp the mini golf course so it's prehistoric themed. I'll give it this much. The miniature golf set looks kind of cool. Given the miniature golf course is made within a movie studio, it does look well built, even if cheap. Despite the low quality, I'm kind of impressed by the craftsmanship and some of the turf layouts. It kind of reminds me of Pirates Cove or Mulligan's. It's weird to explain, but there is some nostalgia here given how I loved miniature golf as a kid. Only problem is that a good majority of our dino action is reduced to making hamburgers. I'm not kidding. For a good majority of the time, our lead dino characters are relegated to cooking haggis burgers.
Hey, they're selling like hotcakes. What are you putting in those burgers?
Haggis helper.
Come to think that they're no longer copying Caddyshack 2, now they're going after Brian Levant's live-action Flintstones movie. Pick something you're trying to look alike and stick with it! However, the thriving business of Dinoput doesn't please Uncle Hal, so he sends a health inspector over to shut down the place after making a complaint of rats. And despite the fact that they're borrowing from UHF, I honestly don't blame Uncle Hal for doing this. Did you see how the dinosaurs are handling the food? It's rather unsanitary. Also, is it just me or do the raw puppets look like they're in horrible shape here? I mean, look at Hammer! His whole mouth is starting to deteriorate in some shots. Maybe it's the quality of the VHS tape footage I have, but it's clear these puppets have seen better days. In return, Elle and her brother get revenge by messing up their uncle's meeting with a Japanese investor, played by a Japanese-American actor, John Fukuoka. Balding enthusiasts might recognize him better as one of the Japanese soldiers in The Last Flight of Noah's Ark. And as outdated as that movie is, I surprisingly miss it. That at least had a shark attacking the makeshift boat for the climax, or else here... The editor clearly thought he could save the entire affair by loading it up with goofy sound effects. I forgot to mention, Throughout the whole movie, there is a cartoon sound effect added in nearly any scene that involves something comedic. And yes, it gets annoying. So annoying to the point I would rather put the rest of the movie on mute.
It is going to be magnificent.
How do we go from a sequel with a loud and noisy climax to one that won't shut the hell up? Also, there's a weird running gag where Uncle Hal is trying to remain chill and avoid blowing his top. It's an ongoing thing where something irritating happens and he just tries to keep his cool. An element of this to which our heroes try to take advantage of.
I get it. This is a test. Humility is a great virtue in your society. You want to see how humble I can be before you partner with me? Thank you. I'm your humble servant.
Not reacting to the comedic moment doesn't make it funny, it just makes it dull. And speeding up the footage doesn't make the animatronic work look stop motion like either. Uncle Hal catches on and decides to offer the kids some deals, to which Heath accepts. Heath apparently works at their uncle's golf course, or used to, and thus is offered his job back with double salary, under one tiny condition.
Is it safe?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Is it safe?
Yeah, it's safe. It's safe as it's ever gonna be.
Well, if you don't know whether it's safe or not, I have to at least know that you're loyal. You have to become one of us.
That he must perform a lame Marathon Man reference. Look, referencing mature movies in a family-friendly feature is not a bad thing, it just needs to be done right. For example, Gremlins 2.
Is it safe?
Need I say more? I hope not. In the final third of Prehisteria 3, Ella challenges her uncle to a mini-golf game where winner takes all in the McGregor's property. And it's the most boring of golf climaxes I have seen. And this is coming from someone who knows golf tournaments can be made exciting. Just go watch Happy Gilmore and Caddyshack to prove me wrong otherwise. And when you can't afford Stan Bush's The Touch... always have a sound-alike on standby. Also, gotta love how the Japanese investor is getting invested in the Dino Putt burgers. But here's a complete surprise for you. Just when you think you're in for a dull climax, Prehisteria 3 rears its ugly head and tosses this in.
Wait a minute. Frame 161. I'm getting ready to putt. There's one tree in front of me. The only tree within 50 yards. Frame 190. There are no birds present in that tree at this time.
Why is he talking like Jim Garrison?
Frame 220. Al joins the crowd on the grassy knoll.
I did not just hear that.
The fatal chirp rings out. My head flinches towards the noise. I don't look right towards the tree where the only birds could possibly be, but back and to the left, towards the grassy knoll.
Yep, I did.
My putt was pronounced dead on arrival, and so was my PGA career, but this proves it was not a lone bird chirp. It was a conspiracy!
And if you think they're trying to reference the political thriller directed by Oliver Stone, oh no! Absolutely not. Because there is a joke earlier in the movie that really does support this criticism.
What's this one called?
JFK.
Very creative.
How did they get away with making a crack at one of the most mournful moments in American history is baffling. Look, I'm not against gags like this, but there is a right time and place for humor like this. And clearly, a movie about tiny dinosaurs trying to save a run-down miniature golf course is clearly not one of them. And just when Dad thinks he put a stop to Hal trying to cheat like he did years ago, the devious family member goes one step further to rig one of the 18th holes regardless. How else can you save the day but by simply asking, how about a nice Hawaiian dinosaur suit wrestling fight? Wait, what? Bobcat Goldthwait did it funnier, thank you very much. And even One Crazy Summer had the dignity of not ruining the joke by having the Asian actor in that scene explicitly say it's a Godzilla parody. So Ella wins, Uncle Hal loses his shit. Dinosaur suit savior is revealed to be the brother, and before we wrap things up, we must ask, how did Mr. Cranston survive being out there for days? Seriously, he just walks up and takes the dinosaurs back, not even mentioning what happened to him. I would pay cold, hard, crisp cash just to see what adventure he went on. I don't care if he was just sitting there at the entrance of the country club waiting for his truck to be towed and get all fixed up. Maybe some fantastical things did happen, like fighting mutant wolverines or going up against 6-foot-tall moon people. It has to be more entertaining than this. You made me kill my gremlins too. You bastard! But oh, it has one more surprise to pull out of its wazoo.
I have been studying your property all week. I want to build a resort around your golf course. It will be the biggest putt-putt in the world.
So it didn't matter if they were in financial peril, they were just going to be saved anyway. Why couldn't he just go over to their home instead of just punting it around with Sergeant Mick next door? That would have made things so much easier to resolve.
We built one in Tokyo. And Russia, too. They're in great need of good, cheap fun.
Well, we're game.
There's one condition.
Oh, what's that?
Room service will have to deliver these dino burgers 24 hours a day.
Thus, we end on a wah-wah joke and a final shot to a running gag that wasn't even funny to begin with. Prehysteria 3? You went out on a high note. I hope it was well earned. Prepare to meet the producer Kali in hell. It's no surprise to say both sequels were not major hits compared to the first one. However, there's a little more to it. Paramount Pictures was not doing financially well in the theatrical sense, and thus Viacom made a deal to acquire the studio for $10 billion while merging with Blockbuster Video. The old bosses that supported Charles Band were gone, and the new executives ended up giving a variety of creative differences. Truly a tale as old as time indeed. By the end of 1984, Charles Band severed ties with Paramount and took the Full Moon trademark with him, while Paramount kept the rights to the Moonbeam Entertainment titles, thinking they could get more money and mileage out of them. Yeah, it didn't work. I'll go into deeper details down the road so I don't sound like a broken record, but the long story short of it is this. Even if Prehysteria 2 and 3 were completed before the deal with Paramount ended, it still doesn't excuse them for how bad they really are.
With the exception of the first film, this trilogy is about as messy as the Jurassic World trilogy. In fact, both hold a lot in common. First movie is decent at best, the second one makes the mistake of being set in a mansion, and the final film is all over the map. Regardless, Prehysteria is a harmless family film that has some nice nostalgic tinge. It's not a masterpiece by any means, yet it does the job well. Prehysteria 2, on the other hand, is dull. I can't think of a single character I had sympathy for, and its premise doesn't do much justice. It's a stereotypical family flick that is boringly generic with characters I could give zero cares about. Prehysteria 3, however, is mesmerizingly bad about how it carries a zero-care attitude, and I do admire it for doing so. Don't be wrong, it's bad, but at least it's a fascinating bad, like 2020's Doolittle or Mac and Me. It's an annoying feature so desperate for attention that I can't help but feel captivated by how it practically believes it won the billion-dollar lottery and thinks it can do whatever the hell it wants. The only saving grace is how the main characters are written as likable, despite executed as annoying cutouts. I can't even begin to describe how astoundingly uncaring it is, to the point it tries to joke about one of the many darkest moments in human history. And for a sequel that came off of a movie about the gimmick of tiny dinosaurs, it amazes me to see how we went from point A to going right off the prehistoric evolution charts.
But I will say, this is just the beginning. We got a long way to get through, a lot of movies to review, and just so my brain doesn't crack, don't worry. I'm going to throw in some Patreon requests just so it balances things out. So, until the next flick, welcome to this long, winding journey we are about to partake in Season 10. And I promise, I will see you all on the next upload.
We're gonna rock! We're gonna rock through the night. We're gonna rock! We got plenty good rockin' tonight. We got everything that you want. A waffle, chopper, flipper, flopper, bopper, 2-1. Call the Army and the National Guard. Keep this guy out of my front yard. It's a party crasher and a well-known drag. Beady eyes and a tail to wag. You wreck the house and you know it's true. Keep on dancing for the night is through. We're gonna rock. Godzilla. Rock Godzilla tonight. We're gonna rock. Godzilla. We got plenty good rockin' tonight. We got everything that you want. A whopper, chopper, flipper, flopper, bopper, 2-1. Godzilla is rocking tonight. Whole town's going up in lights. Roofs are leaking, can't take much more. Here comes Johnny running through the door. Jenny screaming on your same eight place. Rock Godzilla down to his knees. We're gonna rock Godzilla. Rock Godzilla tonight. We're gonna rock Godzilla. We got plenty good rocking tonight. We got everything that you want. Whopper, chopper, flipper, flopper, bopper, 2-1, let's rock. Godzilla, rock,
A new place.
Are you afraid?
A new face.
I've been waiting for you boys.
For terror.
Welcome! I kill one of you, I kill you all!
Savoy Pictures brings you a bedtime story that won't go away. In the morning. Tales from the Hood. Rated R.
Cut.
Prehysteria? What does it mean?
I don't know what it really means. What does it really mean? Do you know? Does anybody know?
Prehysteria is to dinosaurs what Beatlemania was to the Beatles. It's a sort of a mental disorder. Period. Do you know what prehysteria means?
It's a plan.
Prehysteria means you're crazy about dinosaurs.
And we all are.
Bullshit. Bullshit.